Advice needed about a parent. Background: male, 26, member of a Baptist church where Reformed theology is held to by the elders, deacon, and most of the laity. Personally, I am 100 Presbyterian in theology, but church choices are rather limited in my town. The Presbyterian church is PUSA. This left either my current church or an Anglican Economic church that is heavily Anglo-Catholic in theology. I know that commonly repeated advice on this forum is to seek the counsel of your pastor, and my pastors are faithful, but if my dad found out I was addressing this with anyone, especially men he knows personally, he would be absolutely livid. My parents attend a different Baptist church. The one I grew up in, it meets nearly every common stereotype of a Southern Baptist church, racist undercurrents. American conservative nationalism is the 11th commandment, uneducated pastor who evangelizes by yelling about fire and brimstone, deacons acting informally in the role of elders, discipline, no church discipline whatsoever, etc. My father was raised in a primitive Baptist church. He claims to be a Christian, though his life bears little to no fruit in this regard. At times he claims to be under heavy conviction by the Spirit about his sins, but he never makes an effort to stop them, and these moments of open clarity usually only come when he has been drinking heavily. More on that later. Though I never met his father, it died from cancer before I was born. He seemed to be quite an unpleasant man. He ruled their home with an iron fist and expected his wife and children to act as his servants, literally to shape their whole lives around his every whim. Theological framework. Though the Westminster Larger Catechism (YTC) questions 123, 133 explains the purpose of the fifth commandment, 5 as performance of those duties which we mutually owe in our several relations as inferiors, superiors, or equals. For the purposes of this discussion, I will be explicitly referring to honoring 5 in the context of a child-parent relationship. Specifically, my relationship with my earthly father. One of the chief duties listed in LLC, question 127, is for children to bear with the infirmities of their parents. One of the chief sins listed in WLC question 128 is cursing, mocking, and all such refractory and scandalous carriage. I am attempting to navigate the murky waters between these two realities. My ultimate goal in posting these things is to receive godly counsel on how to obey the duties listed in WC 1227 without giving in to the sins listed in ULC 128. The problem. Let me preface this by saying that moving out of my parents' house is not an option. During college, I acquired a heavy amount of debt and cannot afford to move out on my current income. I work as a private school teacher and do not make very much money. Additionally, my parents are in poor health, especially my mother, and frequently need my help to complete basic tasks. That said, I do not know how to faithfully deal with my father anymore. Nearly all of this stems from his alcoholism. He is a highly functioning alcoholic. On average, he consumes around 8 beers per day and roughly 1/3 of a half-gallon of liquor, the larger bottles in the store. Some days, especially stressful days or weekends, I have seen him guzzle over half of a bottle of liquor in just a few hours. By 4-5 p.m. every day, he has to drink or begins to have angry outbursts and become totally unreasonable to be around. There has not been a single day in my memory where he has not done this. I pray for him often and obviously am concerned about his spiritual and physical health. When confronted whether peacefully or angrily, sober or drunk, he becomes extremely angry and belligerent. He is completely unwilling to see that his drinking is a problem. He travels for work and works extremely long hours, 80-hour weeks. He never misses work or appears to be hungover from his drinking. Due to this, he claims that his drinking is not a problem. He actually refuses to even admit that he gets drunk, being just buzzed. In addition to the alcohol, he smokes marijuana daily as well. Sometimes this takes the form of a vapor pen with THI in it, while sometimes he smokes actual marijuana. He smokes constantly. I have even seen him do it early in the morning or while driving if he thinks no one is looking. He also denies having a problem with marijuana. He claims that most people he knows smoke far more and because it doesn't affect his job. Noticing a pattern here, add to this his Ambien prescription and constant desire for any pain medicine he can get his hands on. My mom and I refuse narcotic prescriptions because he will hound us constantly to share pills with him, and it seems to be a mere matter of time before he totally implodes. Miraculously, his liver appears to be fine. My parents have yearly blood work done for health insurance discounts, so I really have no physical avenue from which to admonish him. It seems to be that I have two routes available for addressing his substance abuse: theological or social. I have addressed these before, but he is not at all receptive to them. When I go the theological route, he says that he knows alcoholism is a sin, but he is too addicted to stop, and we all sin anyway. As for the marijuana, he says, God created all plants, including marijuana, and declared them good. There are many problems in regards to the social route, though they can mainly be summarized as total lack of consideration for others. When he drinks, he has never been physically abusive towards my mother or me, though he is definitely verbally abusive. He appears to go through stages of drunkenness: on 1, euphoria; 2, silly; 3, slurring speech; 4, anger; 5, in the euphoria stage, he tends to listen to music on our patio, play with the dog, etc. In the silly stage, he makes lots of crass jokes and thinks everything is funny. He then becomes incoherent and eventually angry. He doesn't always move into the anger stage. Sometimes he just moves straight into a stupor. When he is under the influence, he has apparent total memory loss. He says awful things, especially when angry, but denies any knowledge or memory of them the next day. Another strange side effect of his drinking is that he never wants to eat until super late at night. This drives my mother crazy because she cannot relax until the kitchen is clean. He says that food kills his buzz, so he usually eats and then immediately goes to bed and passes out. My parents no longer sleep together. I am not sure if this is due to the substance abuse, but they have not shared a bed for several years. My mom sleeps on the couch in the living room. This is definitely TMI on my part, but they are also no longer physically intimate. I know this because my father takes blood pressure medication and complains about his lack of virility to me when drinking. As an aside, this does not prevent him from appearing to have a pornography problem. He has confided this in me as well, and I have accidentally caught him a few times. We don't have a lot of privacy in our house, which brings me to another complaint: my father's total lack of regard for other people's space. He constantly walks around in the nude, uses the bathroom with the door open, etc. This gets especially bad when he is drunk, but sometimes when he is sober too. He thinks my uncomfortability with his nudity is funny. Lastly, my father has a strange complex regarding familial authority as well. He says his siblings and mother served his father in any way he desired, and we should do the same for him. Any time I ask him a question, he sees it as a slight against his authority. For example, the other day he told us that he was traveling to Wisconsin for a job. When I asked him what town for details, he got angry and began swearing at me for daring to question his authority. Another example is last week. He was watching the news and angrily began swearing about the liberal lobbyists and Obama ruining our healthcare system. I asked him some questions about his views, and he began swearing and verbally demeaning me, calling me ignorant and too stupid to have an opinion. He has 60 years of experience on this earth, and I have no right to question any of his views. I don't know how to deal with this behavior, any of it. I am not 100% sure that my father does not have narcissistic personality disorder. Whether drinking or not, he does not have much concern for the feelings or thoughts of others. I have been dealing with these things for a long time. I have no one to confide in for the reasons stated above. But I don't want to give the impression that being around my father is horrible 24/7. What pushed me into sharing this finally was an incident the other night. We were sitting on the couch together watching a movie. He was drunkles high and pulled out his HI pen and began smoking it. I asked him to stop because I didn't want to inhale the vapor, and he got angry. He began to shove the device in my face and demand that I smoke it too. He also had some marijuana gummies and told me that the following night I was going to eat one with him and get high. He was very forceful, but thankfully he appeared to forget all about it the next. I care deeply about my parents. One of my greatest fears is having regrets about our relationship if Flame may eventually die. My dad is 62, morbidly obese, and has a serious substance abuse problem. By all health metrics, he isn't likely to live for many more years. I have confided my fears to him, and he takes advantage of them to manipulate me. Any time I don't do what he wants, he tries to guilt me into it by mentioning that he won't be here forever, and he hopes I don't regret my decisions later. He says things like that all the time and will become hateful, belligerent, if I don't acquiesce to whatever he wants at the moment. I am afraid this will turn into him pressuring me about drugs, alcohol, which I have no desire to partake of. Drugs do not appeal to me, and I actually have a stomach issue that makes me totally intolerant to alcohol. Even consuming a small amount makes me nauseous. Despite the financial issues, I have considered trying to move in with my aunt. But when mentioning it to my mom, she guilts me as well. She says it is easy for me to leave, but she is stuck with him for the rest of their lives. She seems resigned to suffer and expects me to as well. That was a lot, I know. Thank you to those of you who made it all the way here. Part of this is me seeking advice. Part of this is me venting, realizing this now, even as a type. Brothers and sisters, what do I do? If you enjoy this type of content and would like to see more of it and support the channel, feel free to subscribe and turn on notifications.